Hey everybody, and thanks for watching Woodcrest Bonsai. Today I'm going to work on 4 more Premna, and they're also quite root bound, ready to be root pruned and repotted, and they also need some styling. And I'm going to start with the easiest ones, because I've got 2 that are a little confusing, but we will try to rectify that. So the first guy is this guy here. Now I've said many times that typically when I have a slanting tree, it goes from left to right, but here we have the perfect exception. This guy is going from right to left. It's got some strangeness. So the first main branch actually died off here, so all the growth is way in the back. But I'm confident that we can get something to sprout down here, even if it's this little tiny guy right like this, and bring it out. Doesn't have to be perfect. It can wiggle and jiggle. And then we have perfect example of bar branches, one here and one here, and one here and one here. So bar branches are defined as 2 branches that are basically coming out of the exact same place on the trunk, in opposite directions, and that does not give your eye a chance to move up the tree. So if this is going to be the first main branch, which I'm still expecting to get something, eventually I'll have a branch out here, then this will be the second main branch, which means that right away we can take this one off. Then if we've got first main branch, second main branch, then this will be the next branch that we're going to keep, because if I was going to keep this branch, then it would be a parallel branch with this, which is also a no-no as far as bonsai is concerned because of the design. Your eye won't move up the tree if you've got 2 branches that are exactly parallel. So we're going to take him off. Now this branch here is really heavy, so we're going to cut it way back. And then this guy up here has a little bit of funkiness too. There's this little tiny bit of growth right here, which really is the future of the branch. This old crud is also coming off. So there we go. Another Woodcrest bonsai stick. However, this is a tree that has great potential. I'm also going to give the apex, and you notice little tiny bit of growth right there. So it's alive and it's beginning to sprout. We had a pretty cold January. February, however, has been like way above normal. In fact, the forecast for, 3 or 4 days from now is 88 degrees for the high, which is just insane. So there we go. Now we imagine branch here, more branch here, more branch here, create the apex. It's got nice form. I like the gentle movement. This would be a feminine tree. And then, of course, the root pruning process is basically the same with the other 4 trees I did the other day. No need to really use tools on all these soft, overgrown roots. Then we have the window screen that I usually just cut. If it's really in there, then I just cut underneath. And we've got some large roots that we can remove. So get that window screen out of there. Although, since window screen is basically plastic, which lasts forever, if the screen is still intact, then I can use that again. And then I like to take off 10, 15, 20% of the outside, like so. And I'm going to put it right back in the same pot. And the window screen does look like it's pretty intact. And if you notice, on these really root-bound Premna, and there are other species of plant that do the same thing, the screen almost becomes unnecessary because the roots have pushed the screen far above the actual drain hole. There we go. Not bad. Pretty clean. Set up the pot. And I like the aspect of this tree, the way it was growing, so I'm not going to change it that much. If we look at it this way, you'll see that like this, it's leaning forward, but most bonsai want to lean forward. You never want a bonsai to lean back, but I think I am going to plant it a little bit more like that. So it'll still lean forward, but not as much. So that means a little bit of extra soil in the front so that I can place it like that. That looks good. And right now I haven't chopped the weird back part of the first main branch because I'm not really quite sure. It does have one little tiny sprout also. If we look right there, but what I should probably do is just turn it into a nub and let something sprout from down here. Need a little bit more soil, just a touch. And whenever I add soil to a new bonsai, I want the level of the soil to be well below the rim of the pot. And you notice this tree is on a mound because it created that mound itself. So the new soil is below the edge of the pot so that when you water, it doesn't all wash away. So there's number one. And of course, when you're doing bonsai like this, trees that need a pretty major cutback to regrow the frame, you need to have that imagination. And of course, at the end of this video, I'll tell you to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because as these guys begin to grow, I'll be able to show you just how nice they become. You know, I'm very guilty of being a little lazy. And part of the reason I started this channel was to get less lazy. So I figured if I was making videos of my trees and showing you their progress, that then I would be a little more conscientious. So that's the plan. So number two is the moss is blooming beautifully. Of course, moss really doesn't bloom because it's a sporophyte. It's not a gametophyte. So what do we got with this guy? Sometimes I wonder with some trees, like, why did I put this in a bonsai pot at all? So where are we going with this guy? Is that really the front? I mean, this is obviously not the front because everything's going backwards. But is this the front? Or maybe I need to do something more like that or like that. I may need to do some wiring to get the apex up into here and do something like this and like this. And then which branch do I want? I've got two bar branches right here. This is very straight right here. So this guy has a little confusion, but wait till you see the next two. They're really confusing. So what do we do? Honestly, I'm not quite sure. And that's not that big of a deal. Oh, my neighbor started her lawnmower, so we now get to be serenaded by the sound of a lawnmower. But that's okay. Nothing like a little white noise, right? So when I'm confused, I do what I know I don't want. I'm going to take it. So I left this because I'm really not sure where I want to go with the apex. I really think this tree probably needs a better apex. This tree could probably be turned on its side. And honestly, the more I look at this thing, this is kind of one of those that's like, it just needs to go back into a training pot. Take it out of this bonsai pot, put it in a 8-inch bulb pan or some kind of other training pot. I don't have a bulb pan with me, but here's a one that's too big. I don't really want to put it in there, but this is a plastic bonsai training pot. These make very nice training pots. But yeah, I don't see a tree in here. I really don't. And I mean, there's potential. And I think I may wire this guy up and up like that. But then, and then maybe take it to there. Boom. And then just let it grow. Just put it in a different pot and just let it grow. So, who knows what I'm going to do with the next two. Because they are, well, you'll see. So he's done for today. Okay, which one do I do next? I think this one here. So this is a twin trunk, a double trunk, and it certainly has some very interesting characteristics. And again, it has some growth that we know is not going to be part of the design. All this stuff that has grown way too long. This is another one where I've never really quite figured out what I want to do with it. I'm thinking of wiring this way and have this interesting little curve. It looks like some of that is damaged, but I don't think it's dead. And then I've left this leader here, and there's a time when this tree looked so totally different when it was young. And so now, I've often thought of wiring it up like this into there, something like that, but I'm not sure. I may just take this guy, which will create much more taper and probably much more visual interest. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of all this guy here. Just take him off. I think it looks like we've got some dead right there. A lot of confusion in here. And this tree I've left for so long, just never really quite looking at it going, okay, so what do I do with this thing? And I think that this branch here needs to come down more like that. I'm not entirely sure I even need this part or this part. Either take this part away here like this, or take this part away and sort of leave this, because this has some very interesting curves and twists. You bring this guy down and then wire the top here like that. This part of the back branch is very heavy, so I'm going to take some of that off. So it's an interesting tree. And sometimes trees just get like this. They just you get some kind of confusion. And the way you get confusion like this is you just do the haircut and they'll grow whichever way they want, and you don't really pay attention to what they're doing. And then at some point you've got, okay, so now what? So I think I am going to wire this apex up and wire this guy down just a little. And by rights this really should be shortened, but for now I'm just going to leave it for the effect. So I need to go cut some wire, so I'll be back. So I've got my wire. Going to start with this guy here. Usually I like to go at least twice around the main trunk to anchor it, and then up to the wire, up to the branch that I want. And just bring it down into like there. Like that. And then a little smaller piece of wire to do the apex. Into there, like that. And then I want to do some more little stuff, like this guy here that's shooting against the grain. He can come off. Oh, and that guy looks like it snapped. Oh, it just already just fell off. Okay, so there we go. It's a whole lot better than when I started. Still has some funkiness, which at this point we're just going to let it be funky. And the root pruning process is the same. It's going to be, oh my lord, it's going to be root bound. The wire mesh is going to be way up in there. This plant is in a coarser grain bonsai soil, but I'm going to put it into the smaller grain size that I have on the bench, which will be of no consequence. Our indestructible window screen. That looks pretty good. And then take about 20% of the outside away. This really has a nice layer of moss, and the moss that I'm cutting off will be replaced quite quickly. There we go. And I always have to remember that a root pruning actually rejuvenates growth. Yes, it's a drastic procedure on the plant itself, but especially if you're putting it into the very same pot, the root pruning process gives the tree all brand new soil to move into, which will actually stimulate growth. Give them a little pad. I think the aspect of the way it was is good. I think I'm going to bring it a little bit more this way so it's closer to a third than right in the middle. And it may need just a touch of soil in the back to bring it so it's not leaning backwards so much. And this pot is a very inexpensive pot. Which is fine with me. Do the chopstick in there. And I think I may have changed the aspect of the tree a little bit, so now it's more, it was like this and now it's more like that. But actually in the viewfinder I'm looking at it, I'm saying, you know, that is not bad. That looks pretty good. Okay, so there's number 2. Definitely an interesting tree. And I said number 2, I meant number 3. Maybe it was the second repotting, right? Because the other guy didn't repot. And then we have the last guy, which is a little bigger. It's in a bigger pot. And it is just one gigantic confused mess. It's like, how did I let it get like this? I mean, we have 2 branches, this one here going all the way across here, and then this one here coming all the way back. So it's almost like a pretzel. Talk about not knowing where the eye is supposed to go. And I do believe that at one point, because this is the front of the pot, that this was the front of the tree. I'm not so sure anymore. You know, first main branch, which is also grown way out. Possibly bring this guy. I'm going to get rid of some of this stuff because some of it just isn't going to be part of the design. It just isn't. And bring this guy up like into here and create something like into here. But I was looking at another possible front, which was the back, actually, of that tree, into here. And there's some interesting aspects to this. This would still be the first main branch, even though it's very heavy. Get rid of this really super heavy branch. And then build the tree up into this small stuff. Take this guy away. And once again, regardless of what I do, all this really crazy leggy growth is coming off anyway. So now we have to decide what it is that we want to do. Where are we going to go with this guy? And I don't really see, so we have the scar there. Is there anything this way that looks like a front? Not really. And if we come back to here, one thing I think is absolutely obvious, whether I'm going to make this the front. And you know, and we can do something like this on the first main branch, if it's going to be the first main branch. You notice how it's died right here. And then a new branch has come to take its place. So I'm going to take that dead nub off. And then this craziness here also can come off or be shortened tremendously. It's a little too heavy for the scissors. So I'll get the concave cutters. Like I said, bring it up into here somewhere. I really like, if I am going to do this as the front, I really like this. This guy here is going to need to be shortened tremendously. So there's a possibility. It could also be planted more like that, which might make an interesting front. But this branch here, this really super heavy branch, it doesn't really fit with either scenario. So it comes off completely. Okay. So every time we chop something away, the level of confusion diminishes. So now we've got some major decisions to make. See, this could be the second main branch, but then we also have this guy. This branch here is coming off of what would be the apex the other way. And this is also very heavy right here. So what to do? Come back to this is the front and wire this puppy up into here and pot it more like that. That may be what I'm going to do. And then if that's the case, then all of this here is coming off. So, you know, once you do it, and then in here and here, up into here, which means that this apex comes off, all of this comes off. And honestly, I'm thinking that this probably is going to make a nicer tree because it's got a lot more taper. This is all really heavy all the way up to the top. Oops, well, I just snapped it. So, oh, you know, I think I am going to go this way. I'm going to go this way. So now, do I keep this one or do I bring this guy down into its place and take all of that off? So let's do that. Now, I just cut off a huge chunk that has a lot of craziness, but I could root some of this and get some very interesting movement very quickly. So I think I'll do that. And I really don't like how heavy this branch is. Right here. And you know, this really is now a bar branch with this guy, so I'm just going to take the whole thing. It's becoming a stick. I figured that would happen. I'm going to cut that to there. And then cut that guy like that. So then we have parallel branches right here. This little stump right here is dead, so we can take it away. And, I don't know. I'm thinking that would make a better branch, so let's take this one. It's, you know that one song, it's like starting over. I promise I won't sing anymore. What have you done to it? Well, what I've done to it is give it much more of that classic Japanese, you know, first main branch, second main branch. It still has some decent movement, and it has definitely got some great taper now. And so there you go. It was a decision-making process that, well, just decided to go for it. Sometimes you can't make a mistake. That's part of my philosophy on bonsai is you can't really make a mistake. I could have done the other front. It would have had a different character. You can't make a mistake. All you do is increase the amount of time that you get a finished tree. And for me, that's not that big of a deal. I'm in no hurry. Got this piece of wire laying here, but you know, it's not really big enough, so I'm going to go get some more. Okay. A little piece of wire to bring the apex up. Which I cut a tad too short, but that's okay. And then we have another branch here, which I'm going to shorten that tremendously. Have a back branch. So there we go. Certainly less confusion. Some of you may disagree with my decision-making process, because this guy would have made a very interesting apex with how much movement it had. But like I said, I can root this and get a very funky little rooted cutting in no time at all. And so with this tree, I decided to take the plunge. This one here, I decided not to take the plunge. There's just too much confusion. I'm really not sure where to go. So sometimes I wait, and sometimes it's just time to do it. Now, this tree, when I was watering it, was even more root bound than most of the rest because I was getting standing water. If you water your bonsai and the water just sits there for 15, 20 seconds, your tree is root bound. So I could probably do it with my fingers. Oh, look at those roots. Super healthy. No doubt about it. And with this being a bigger pot, it's got 2 drain holes. And I definitely need my scissors for this one. Extricate the window screen. Well, that was a tiny piece of screen. Oh, I even had a staple in there. That was interesting. I don't normally staple a window screen. I staple the, whatever you call it, the macrame stuff. It's heavier white plastic. Needle point. I don't know what it's called. It makes good bonsai screen though. Drainage. There's the other piece of window screen. I think. Yeah, it's in there. A lot of trees, especially tropicals, say, window screen? What window screen? And once they become that root bound, the screen really isn't doing anything anyway anymore. Okay. Give it the 20% around the perimeter. Sometimes you'll see people where they feather all the roots, so they would take all this off. But it's not usually necessary, especially for some of these really aggressive tropical trees. They're going to root out just fine. Okay, there we go. Because I have so many trees, I'm not going to lament what I did with this. Oh, I could have done it the other way. No. I've done it the way I did it, and that's the way it is. I will be featuring some of my Shohin Ilex shillings as soon as they begin to break dormancy. And I did a couple. Most of them are really short little squat trees. They got nice movement and nice taper, and Shohins makes a really great little buttress trunk even when they're young trees. But a couple I made very long and kind of leggy and almost bunjin. And I had a couple of people comment, "Oh, you missed a chance to make a really nice little tree." But I have a huge number of nice little trees already, so I decided to do something a little different. And I guess this guy's about the same. I just angled it up a little bit more so that you see it's angled that way. It could even possibly go a little higher. Needs a little more over here. I keep running into it with the scoop. I tell you, working on a tree in front of the camera is wholly and totally different than working on a tree that's not in front of the camera. Because I'm so conscious of, sticking my arm like that. It's like, ah! Alright, there we go. And as you can see, most of the moss that was on there has now been covered up, but it'll re-emerge in no time at all. So there we go. It's an interesting take on this tree. I really never thought it would end up looking like this. So I know I did 4, but now I only see 3. What did I do with the 4th one? That's a good question. What happened to you, number 4? So maybe I'll just end it here. I was going to put all 4 back up. What did I do with the other tree? Oh well, it's unimportant. So there you go. 4 Premna, 3 of them root pruned and repotted. And the 4th one I'm going to put it back into a training pot and let it get bigger, because it just didn't thrill me. And that happens. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to see what these guys look like as they begin to develop, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll be notified the next time I feature these guys on video. I still can't. Oh, you know what I did? I took the 4th one already over to the bench. Okay. Woo! Okay, so please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment, let me know what you think, which one was your favorite, etc., etc. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.